Thank you everyone for joining today. We are here for the Society of Thoracic Surgeons Congenital Heart Surgery Database User Group call for Tuesday, February the 9th. Thanks everyone for joining. On the phone, on the line with me today here on the webinar, we have from the STS, we have myself, we have Carol Crone, we also have Addie Dolan from STS. From the IQVIA side, we have our usual suspects. We have Melanie, Jeanette, and Joe, and I think that's it from the IQVIA team. Also for our surgeon leadership today, we have Dr. Myers joining us, and then from our core group, we have Leslie Wacker, Chastity Wellnitz, and Janet Kreutzer. So thank you everyone for joining today. Just real quick, our agenda, I just have a very brief STS update, then I'll turn things over to IQVIA for their updates, and then we'll turn things over to you all for your questions and feedback. We do have the raised hand function enabled, so if you need to speak or you need to elaborate on your question, please feel free to just raise your hand and we can unmute you and you can go ahead and talk. Again, if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A function. That really does help us allow to track the questions and follow up after the call if we need to. So again, please put your questions in the Q&A. And then if you need to elaborate or, would like to speak further, please feel free to raise your hand, and obviously we'll unmute and free to have, welcome that conversation and move on from there. So for our STS updates today, for the 2021 harvest, as you all know, the harvest schedule is posted on the website. I do need to get this updated. The spring 2021 harvest, as you all know, STS heard you all, and on the latest task force call, there was discussion. We are aware that the spring 2021 harvest close date of March, I believe it was the 12th, was not ideal. So the spring 2021 harvest close date is to be determined at this time. We do encourage you to please continue please continue submitting your data and cleaning up your data. And just know that since that harvest close date, again, is to be determined, as always, the STS will give you all at least a minimum of 2 weeks notice prior to the close of the harvest. I believe last time we had a month prior to the close. But again, please, we do encourage you to continue submitting your data and cleaning your data. And once we have more information on the harvest close date, obviously we'll pass that along to you and give you ample time to continue to get your data cleaned up and submitted prior to the harvest close. And again, just a reminder, the 2021 harvest does include, the spring 2021 harvest includes procedure dates up through 12/31/2020. We encourage you to submit all the data you have up through 12/31/2020. Let's see here. Next, again, our primary procedure mismatch report that is available at, within the IQVIA platform. And again, just the important first step to review the report overview to understand its current functionality. Also, as we discussed on the last call regarding public reporting, there will be no public reporting of the 2020 data. A new working group was convened or is being convened to plan the future of STS congenital public reporting and risk modeling. So more information about public reporting will be coming soon. Also, I just want to give a brief update on the data version upgrade. The upgrade committee is continuing to meet every month. I think we're meeting bi-weekly at this point. The upgrade committee, we have reviewed sections up through, we've completed up through the operative section. Our next series of calls will involve the complications and discharge mortality sections, and I think the process measure sections. So we'll begin reviewing those next week. And just to give you all an update, once the upgrade is complete, STS will provide upgrade webinars for the data managers. Again, the go live is set to start on January 1, 2022 for the new data version. And again, STS will be holding educational webinars. We'll be doing a DCF walkthrough We want to review the variable definitions with you all to make sure that we're all on the same page and how we're collecting data and interpreting the definitions. So we will be doing a very thorough walkthrough of the new data collection form and the data elements. We'll working very closely and I'll be working very hard to improve the training manual and make definitions very clear in the new training manual. So again, more information about that will be coming, and we look forward to bringing that new training manual and the new data version to you all very soon. Also, just again, I wanted to include this slide from our last user group call, just to help prioritize your data cleanup efforts. Again, ensure all your risk model variables are complete. I'm sorry, I failed to include the next slide for the complete listing. I'll put that back in prior to posting it on the website. So again, just ensure that you are focusing on those risk model variables, and also just note if you are missing greater than 10% for any one or more, for any one of these variables, you will be excluded from table 16. We don't want that. And also just confirm that your mortality variables are complete, your mortality status at hospital discharge, mortality status at database discharge, and your status at 30 days after surgery. And again, the percent of missing data for these mortality variables can also impact your table 16 star rating and your risk adjusted mortality data. That's all that I have from the STS side. Next, I'm going to turn things over to Joe for our IQVIA update. Joe.
Great, thanks so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Just a couple items from me today, starting with some items that were released a couple weeks ago on January 23rd, STS 4196. We did fix the issue where the preoperative factors and complications were not appearing as they should have on the missing variable report. So that is now working correctly. And then STS 4980, there was an issue where the status at database discharge was appearing as missing on the missing variable report, even though it wasn't applicable based on the data provided for the parent field. And so that should no longer occur. Next slide. Then upcoming for this weekend, February 13th, one fix for the data quality report, STS 5555. We are looking at making some updates to the validations in the system. So there will be some validations that are currently errors that will be upgraded to critical errors, meaning that those records, if they encounter those errors after this weekend's update, will be rejected from the database. And so we will be posting a full list of all variables that will be impacted by this. And that will be in the library after this weekend's release so that you can review that and make sure that you're up to date on which data elements are going to be critical errors if they're missing from your file. And I think that was all we had, just our standard notes that if we didn't cover something today that you had submitted, feel free to check with our team if you have any questions regarding the status of those tickets. And we are currently reviewing additional items to be released later this month in a later update for February.
Great. Thank you so much, Joe. Appreciate it. All right. Again, just the IQVIA support plan. Just our plea again to please include your participant ID with any and all communications with IQVIA and STS. And also, I just wanted to, touch base on the email that was sent out from the STS from the STS directly. IQVIA and STS have been working to improve the support for our congenital participants. So, IQVIA has recently, made changes to the support system to expedite resolution of your open support tickets. They have included an escalation to a congenital database subject matter expert, as well as the support team is sharing screens for data reviews and have provided some more personalized support. So we do hear you all, we have heard you all in regards to the support, and we are working to improve that for you. So we thank you all for your feedback, and please continue to provide your feedback to us. We want to make sure that you all have all the tools and all of the support that you need to get your data clean and to get your data submitted properly. So please, again, continue to provide that feedback, and thank you so much for your support. We really do appreciate it. In terms of resources, again, you've all seen this. These are our resources that are available out on the STS webpage. We have our IQVIA tech support, their phone support number, as well as the email support. We have our STS National Database feedback form that's out on the website, as well as resource documents for contact information, training videos, links to IQVIA, all that good stuff. So. Also, here is my contact information. Again, please feel free to reach out to me directly with any of your questions, concerns. Happy to set up a time to talk to you. And always feel free to email me at any time. If you have database operational questions, access to IQVIA, you have questions regarding your participation agreement, current contacts associated with your participant ID, please feel free to email us at database stsdb@sts.org. Also go ahead and mark your calendars. So next week, actually, we have our congenital monthly webinar on February 16th at 12 p.m. Central. And then our next user group call is scheduled for February 23rd at 12 p.m. Central. That's all that I have from the STS side and IQVIA side. So next, we just wanted to open the floor and allow you guys the opportunity to ask your questions, providing feedback. Is there anything that you all would like to, that you have questions about? Where the floor is open to you all. We have also Dr. Jacobs just joined our call. So thank you, Dr. Jacobs, for joining us on the webinar. Let's see here. I believe we have someone with a hand. Let's see, Kelly, I've unmuted you, so you should be able to talk. You should be.
Hi, Leanne.
Okay. Hi, Kelly.
Hi. I just want to say that I did receive a call back from IQVIA tech support very quickly, and that was valuable and very helpful to speak to them on the phone. So thank you. It seems like that is a little better process. One of my questions that I have is, it was just mentioned that there are some critical errors that will be flagged for new variables in the database. And I think these are one of the updates that we want to make sure aren't happening so close to harvest. So I think one of my concerns personally is that, are we going to be making updates that are going to flag records with critical errors that won't be accepted right up to the harvest deadline? So I think I want to be assured that that won't happen.
I'm sorry, I thought I was on mute. So I understand. I hear exactly what you're saying. Obviously, this update that's coming out, we're not closing the harvest, within the next couple of weeks, but I do understand and I hear exactly what you're saying. Melanie, do you have an example of the types of these variables that were moved, or Jeanette, that will be?
I can assist with that, Leanne.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So not new variables. So just want to also clarify that existing variables and already existing validations. Some examples would be surgery date cannot be later than the current date. Right now, that is set to an error status that will be moved to a critical status. So a lot of the date fields that really shouldn't allow where you have a date that is mismatched. So date of birth cannot be later than surgery date, for example. So we will be posting, we can get that up sooner than later in regards to at least what's coming, but those validations are currently in place. They're at an error level right now, but they will be moved to a critical status because we want to make sure that that information is correct.
This is Carol. Thanks, Melanie and Leanne and Kelly. Thank you for the feedback on your experience with the support. We have been working with IQVIA support team to fine tune that, so it is working better for all. And I'm glad to hear that some of the changes that have already been in place are working. Related to the changes that Melanie is speaking about, these were already considered no-go, if you will, no-goes for DCRI. So if you submitted something with a logical error in the dates, the record would have been rejected anyway. So they're just escalating the severity of these, so they're not allowed into the database. We instructed sites that errors must be cleaned up. All errors should be cleaned up prior to harvest close. What we found is some folks just submit their data and walk away and never go back to update the errors that, that we say need to be updated. And that kind of causes an issue when data goes into analysis, and the logic is looked at the DCRI side. So we are elevating or escalating the severity level of those.
Great. Thank you, Carol.
Mhm.
Yeah, and Dawn had a comment, a list of new triggers. Yes, so a list of new triggers for the critical errors would be greatly appreciated. So thank you, Melanie. Let's see, we have another question, not a question about the IQVIA warehouse, but a question regarding my cases to include in the database. A congenital surgeon at one of my facilities has started doing lung transplants. These are adults without a history of congenital heart disease. Should these surgeries be included in the database since my congenital surgeon is doing them? He is not a participating surgeon for ACSD or GTSD. Dr. Jacobs?
Yeah, I could comment on that. When a congenital surgeon that's a member of the STS Congenital Heart Surgery Database does an adult operation that relates to an adult with congenital heart disease, that should go in the STS Congenital Heart Surgery Database. But if that congenital heart surgeon does an operation on an adult for acquired heart disease, or a thoracic case like a lung transplant for non-congenital cardiac disease, then those cases should not go in the STS database, and they not go in the STS Congenital Heart Surgery Database. So how that would play out for the example of a lung transplant, if the lung transplant is being done related to sequela for congenital heart disease, even if it's a 30 or 40-year-old lung transplant, it's fair game to put it in there because it's being used to treat congenital heart disease. But if the lung transplant is being done for some other reason, which is most likely, like if it's being done for COVID, for example, then it should not go in the STS Congenital Heart Surgery Database. And I know that there's a lot of cases that are going to be on the borderline and are going to require judgment. And I think if one is guided by the basic principle, if it's a pediatric case or a congenital case of any age, then it belongs in the STS Congenital Heart Surgery Database. That principle should be the guiding principle. And, I've looked at it then that, well, if we have a 45-year-old undergoing a Fontan conversion, or a 45-year-old with a previous Fontan undergoing a heart liver transplant, those are examples that would, in my mind, belong in the Congenital Heart Surgery Database. Alternatively, if there's a 45-year-old with a bicuspid aortic valve that's undergoing an aortic valve replacement, that's probably a little bit more along the lines of an adult cardiac surgery database case. And I know that we could come up with a gazillion examples that are right on the borderline, but at least the story I gave gives some guiding principles. I hope that answered the question. I hope I didn't babble too much.
You're fine. Thank you, Dr. Jacobs. I appreciate it. Okay, we got a question, looks like an IQVIA question from Kelly. Issue originally submitted 11/12, shows TOF repair. IQVIA showing it should be a RVOT procedure. And then another, so it's dealing with the primary procedure mismatch, shows Kawashima, showing it should be a PA reconstruction. Arch repair and VSD completed during the same surgery, not flagged as combo.
What? I'm sorry, say that again.
The arch repair and VSD repair completed during the same surgery, not flagged as a combo procedure.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah.
Yep, those updates are not in as yet. So we're getting those in for this targeted for this month.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so, yeah, and Kelly does have an item that was raised to our support team. And sorry for cutting you, Dr. Jacobs. Just so you know, Kelly, that item was logged regarding the TOF. And so we will be also implementing that fix for that mismatch. So that is also going to be included with the updates that we're doing for primary procedure.
Yeah, I would say I'm looking at the typed questions from Kelly, and as Melanie sent, all three of these are going to be eventually fixed at IQVIA. So the primary procedure identified by Kelly will be correctly identified by IQVIA. A Kawashima will become a primary over a PA reconstruction, because a Kawashima is going to be treated like a Fontan and become a primary procedure. An arch repair and a VSD repair will be a combo procedure. That's the second example. I think and the TET repair with the RVOT procedure, also the TET repair would be primary procedure as a benchmark operation. So
Right.
I think Kelly identified, as John said as well. So Kelly has identified three things where she's got the correct primary procedure. And I think John and I would agree with her. And I think from what I understand, IQVIA is in the process of making the programming allow that to happen. Is that right, Melanie?
That's correct. And great recap. That's exactly what we will be doing.
Great.
That's my role at this point. I'm the recap guy.
You're absolutely amazing at it too.
There's one other part. Thank you, Doctor. It's so helpful to have this is Carol. It's so helpful to have Dr. Jacobs and Dr. Meyer on the call to help make sense of this information. There's one other part to that question.
Great.
For IQVIA, I think.
If you're referring to the section of the question related to the number of records accepted does not match what was uploaded.
Yeah.
So what that means, if you submit 2 files even 1 hour apart, and from what you can see, they're the same file. So it's the same date range included in the file, and you only made an update to 1 record within your vendor system and then ran the export again for the same date range. If the upload submission in the data warehouse detects more than that 1 record is needing to be processed, then that means there's something else going on your vendor side, or that somebody else at your location was making updates, or something's happening there. So we would encourage you to follow up on that. But, just as it's a fair call out, why would there be a change if you upload the file within 1 hour? You think you only made 1 update. Well, we're not making updates on our side within that 1 hour either. So the way that detection works is it does look at what is the difference in the submitted file versus what was received previously. We have had some people experience this behavior and then found that other colleagues were working on some record updates, or there was something else going on their side. And it's certainly good for you all to be aware of that. So if you could please start that investigation on that perspective. If you'd like more specifics or more information, then it does look like you've reached out to the technical support group. So that's certainly an appropriate course of action as well. And they can look into that to try and help you get some more details on the records that were changed. But you can also see those links within the data quality report for any data validations that are appearing on those. And you can also take a look at those and just see what's showing in the DCF views within the system.
And Kelly, I think you're unmuted.
Oh,
I think you want, yes.
Jeanette, thank you for that explanation. Our records are locked, so no other end users can make changes to the records internally. I'll take a look and see if we can compare files and see if something may have gotten changed on our end, and I'll reach out to our vendor. It would be helpful maybe if I can have a conversation with IQVIA as well. But at that point, I was the only one that made 1 change to a record, so it just seemed rather odd since our records are locked.
Yeah, a interesting option to check on that. That's a great call out, Kelly, would be to do a comparison on the 2 files and see what the changes were, because that's exactly what our system is doing. As it processes it, it is detecting, these were the updates. So letting you know what you're going to process through. So really, really great suggestion there.
Okay, thank you.
I've got a really quick question related to Kelly's question. These changes related to making the tetralogy primary with the pulmonary arterioplasty, or the Kawashima primary with the PA reconstruction. Are those changes going to be implemented into the analytic file from the previous harvest that's going to lead to the analysis and the feedback report? I know that we're getting them changed now to the information that we provide back to the data managers as they enter the data, but have they already been implemented in the file that is generated for the analysis and feedback report?
Those changes are being implemented with the spring 2021 harvest at DCRI.
So, but I think maybe I could ask your question a different way, Jeff. And that is, regardless of how the data comes over from IQVIA, is DCRI still going to be implementing the same edits that they have in the past? Or are they just accepting the IQVIA file as, the quote unquote gospel?
No, the primary procedure assignment happens on the DCRI side,
Right.
and analysis. Yeah. IQVIA,
John, you did a much better job saying what I was trying to say. The point I was trying to say, which I did a poor job saying, and John did better, was that even though the information fed back to the data managers has these operations misclassified,
right,
and we're implementing a fix at IQVIA so that they will not be misclassified in the future, DCRI will analyze them correctly. Because DCRI is going to be choosing the primary procedure by the algorithm that they've always utilized. And in that case, in these three examples, the primary procedure is going to be tetralogy, Kawashima, and the combination of arch repair and VSD. So this will not impact the harvest analysis. This fix will just mean that the errors of mismatches sent back to the database managers will no longer show these as errors. I hope I said it better that time.
No, that's it. I think, the problem is, or the angst that this will cause is that, you're getting one piece of information about your data submission from IQVIA, and it's not going to necessarily be reflected in what you get back in your report from DCRI. That's the that's the disconnect, if you will, and just I think we ought to identify that up front so everybody understands that there is that potential. Hopefully it doesn't happen very much, but it would be, I think everybody should at least be aware that there still might be some inconsistencies.
Yeah, this is Carol. I just wanted to clarify, the goal is to have the algorithms exactly the same at DCRI and IQVIA. So when the mismatch report is run at IQVIA and something comes back, the site fix it will update it on the IQVIA side and say this is no longer an issue. When that same case goes over to DCRI, the same algorithm is intended to be run on that, and there should be no further issues. So if there is a disconnect, that would be corrected between IQVIA and DCRI rather quickly, because our intent is that we want to have the same algorithms in place at both facilities at the same time.
Right. I don't think there's any question about that. But in reality, what's going to happen for this harvest that we've just completed, there is that possibility, right? I understand the intent, but that's not what we're talking about.
I think it's pretty clear that for this harvest, DCRI is going to analyze these using the algorithms that we've created that they've used over and over again. IQVIA will identify the primary procedure correctly the overwhelming majority of the time, but there are a few examples where IQVIA will get this wrong currently, such as the examples that Kelly provided that are now being rectified. The nice thing is that they will still be analyzed properly at DCRI, And eventually, sounds like soon, the IQVIA team with Melanie and everybody are going to make it that the mismatch report is concordant completely with what DCRI is doing. It's almost concordant now.
Right. But just the only reason I'm making a point of this is because I'm trying to head off what is going to undoubtedly be an issue that's going to come up. Is somebody's going to say, wait a minute, I got this report from IQVIA and it's not quite consistent with what I'm getting back from DCRI. And just recognize that it's because we're in this transition. That's why we've decided we're not going to use this for public reporting, purposes. At least, this is almost like a congenital database wide beta test, so that, I'm just trying to make sure everybody doesn't, get too bent out of shape because of this. There's a possibility that we're going to have some discrepancies, and it just means we didn't get quite as far in making the two algorithms at the two different locations exactly the same. They're close, but they're not exactly the same. So just everybody, just needs to understand it, and, we're doing our best.
Yep, agreed. Thank you, Dr. Meyer, Dr. Jacobs. Let's see here. Next, this is, thank you for explaining this. It would have been nice to know this prior to the end of the harvest. Actually, thank you for your comment. I know on previous calls we've discussed this. So, when we've been talking about the primary procedure mismatch, I know we've discussed that the primary procedure is assigned at DCRI for analysis purposes, and that the IQVIA algorithm that, we've been working on the primary procedure mismatch report to make that cohort, like Dr. Jacobs and Dr. Myers have said, with what's going to be done on the side of analysis. So, yeah, I apologize, but I'm pretty sure I thought we had, addressed this before. So, but again, please feel free. If you'd like to have additional conversations, please let us know. Happy to help and explain in any way possible. Does anyone else?
Leanne.
Yes, ma'am.
It's Leslie. Just a reminder to everyone too that we have discussed this multiple times, but there's all those notes on the IQVIA platform about exactly, where the differences might still be, if anyone has questions.
Yes. Yeah, the report, the overview discusses the current functionality of the primary procedure mismatch report. And I think all of these, like the Kawashima and the other PSF factors will be added, as Melanie and the IQVIA team said by the end of this month. I think that's correct, right, Mel?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Let's see here. Any other questions? Let's see. Okay, here we go. I was assigned this registry about 3 weeks ago with minimal handoff from previous extractor. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I'm wondering if anyone has any orientation, training materials, cheat sheets that they would be willing to share. Any tips to make abstraction smoother would also be greatly appreciated. That is a great comment there, Becky. I do know if you have not already signed up, the STS does have a mentorship program. So you could go on and sign up for a mentor if you haven't already done so. I think Carol or Addie, would you mind putting the link to the mentor-mentee sign up in the chat for Becky?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is Carol, and I'll put in the new data manager webinar that we hosted last year as well.
Perfect. Absolutely. Yeah, please absolutely take advantage of that mentor-mentee program. That'll connect you with the seasoned data manager who could definitely be of help to you and help you get you oriented and assist with any type of cheat sheets or training materials that they may have used or things that they found useful when they first started with working with the CHSD database. Let's see here. Let's see. And another comment from Christina. She's also very new, less than a month, and would love to connect with another newbie for support. So if you're interested, so Christina, Becky, if you guys wanted to connect, you can feel free to, you can make use of the chat, or if you wanted to contact me directly, I'd be happy to put you in touch with each other. So, and Krista.
Yeah, and not only that, but besides connecting with each other, I know that there's many data managers on this call that would be willing to work with them and help them out as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And also our next, I apologize if you already went over this, is in the STS update, but you have an estimate when the congenital report will be available. I have administrators and surgeons asking. That is a very good question. At this time, I can't give you a solid date. I know we're hoping, obviously, STS DCRI is doing the analysis. IQVIA is building the reporting dashboards. I don't know, Carol, what is your estimate? I don't know if we want to just provide an estimate.
Yeah, I'm not willing to guess on that. I just know the data will be transferred. It's not at DCRI at this time. It's at IQVIA. They're working on the programming, the connection between DCRI and IQVIA to transfer the data over, since this is the first time. It takes a little bit longer to work out that programming. So they're working on that. The data will go to DCRI, and usually that's a 6 to 8 week analytic time frame for them to, a 6 to 8 week time frame for them to perform the analytics, and then the data will be sent back to IQVIA for display. We are working with some core group members and surgeon leaders on the build of the dashboards and fine tuning that for when that data comes back, it'll have a place to live.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard right now to even give a time frame.
Yeah, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. I don't know if Dr. Meyer or Dr. Jacobs had anything to add, or Melanie, Jeanette, IQVIA.
Nope. I have to go. I have to go teach first year medical students anatomy. So
Have fun.
I'd
Have
kind
fun,
of like to
Ryan.
join you and just sit in on the class.
yeah.
It'd be enjoyable.
Yeah.
And it looks like Autumn and Dawn have provided their contact information in the Q&A if any of our new data managers wanted to get their email and connect with them directly. So thank you, Autumn and Dawn. I'll leave that up there for a bit. Let's see, Terry, I appreciate the clarifying commentary from Dr. Meyer and Dr. Jacobs. Absolutely, it is so awesome having them on these calls. This information has been mentioned before in other webinars. However, the knowledgeable specifics, algorithms are enlightening. This information and these specifics have been requested for a long time. All right, thank you.
You know, the only thing I would add to that is that the report overview of all of the feedback reports over the last 15 years or so, within that, the algorithm is described in a fair amount of detail for how, during any given harvest, the primary procedure of an operation is identified and classified. So that's a resource that can be used, just looking at the report overview of the last feedback report to kind of see in writing the approach that's used at DCRI to calculate a primary procedure, and the approach that therefore is being replicated at IQVIA.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Jacobs. And that report overview is also posted within the resource library within IQVIA. So that document is available out there as well. All right. For any additional questions, Carol, are you reaching out to Carrie? It looks like you're commenting.
Yep.
On
Yeah, I'll answer in the chat box.
Thank you. Does anyone, I'm not seeing any additional questions. I just wanted to be respectful of everyone's time. I have about 40 minutes, only 1:40. Anyone have any additional questions or concerns? Anyone have anything wanted to raise their hand for any further discussion? Opportunities going once, going twice. Okay. Here. Okay, Kelly. All right. Kelly, I think you're unmuted.
Hello.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi. I just have a couple of comments. Will every attempt be made to ensure that we receive a harvest report before the deadline for the spring submission? It would be very helpful for us to be able to review the reports prior to this submission to see if there are any inaccuracies prior to finalizing the spring harvest.
Yes, Kelly, that's the purpose of the 2BD. So the data managers and the surgeon leaders have requested that the reports be available for review prior to the close of the next harvest. So that was that's from the surgeon leaders and the congenital task force.
Okay. And then my other comment is the data quality report is a tool for the data manager community to use to ensure that we're submitting accurate, valid data for analysis for outcomes reporting. And I just want to make it very clear that it is a tool that we all use. Although we do internal checks, I do internal checks, I work with our IT department, I do all of these. When we're seeing discrepancies at IQVIA in the data quality report, it's concerning and it's not helpful to us. But I do realize that DCRI uses the analysis and their algorithm to determine the primary procedure and the exception rules. The data quality report is very helpful for us to see exactly what we're going to be submitting.
Perfect. Yeah, I completely understand and completely agree. And we are continuing to work with, and I know IQVIA is working very hard to get that, to get everything aligned. So that information is straight across, but if it's in the data quality report, it's being done at the data warehouse. So I absolutely agree, and I understand exactly what you're saying. Excuse me. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Let's see here. Anyone else? I'm not seeing any additional questions. No additional hands raised. Carol, did you have anything you wanted to add before we sign off for the day?
No, ma'am. Just thank you to Dr. Jacobs and Dr. Meyer for joining. I think their voice and comfort during these calls is really helpful. They kind of give a level of security to the process that we're all going through and a better understanding for everybody. So thank you to the surgeons for joining and to the core group for joining and being the backbone of the database for us. It's really helpful to have everybody on the call who can support us when we're going through these.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. Thank you so much. All right, just before we go, just a reminder to mark your calendars for our monthly webinar next week and our next user group call for the 23rd. Again, monthly webinar on the 16th, and our next user group call is scheduled for the 23rd. So thank you all, everyone, for joining today. I hope you guys have a great week. And again, thank you to my IQVIA colleagues, STS colleagues, Dr. Meyer, Dr. Jacobs. Thank you so very much. We look forward to speaking with you all again next week. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it, everyone. Have a great week.
Thanks, Leanne. Great job. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Okay.